Okay, I think it's working now. Hello? Hello? Yeah, it's working. Okay, hi everybody, I'm Javier Dicena. Thanks for watching, and thanks a lot to Peter Theremin for inviting me to make this Theremin online. I appreciate it a lot. First of all, as you can see, sorry for my English. As you can see, it's not my native language, so I try my best. I hope you can understand me. Okay, let's start. First question. Dear Javier, how do you feel in self-isolation? Well, it was a really strange feeling. On one hand, obviously, it was a disaster. Everything suddenly stopped. I had to cancel a lot of dates, concerts. I was worried about the evolution of the virus and the impact over the people, especially ancient people. Thousands and thousands of them died here in Spain, especially really harmful here in Madrid, the situation. But on the other hand, the isolation itself gave me some good things, gave me the chance of resetting myself, to make a reset, make a break in that crazy routines I was involved in, gave me extra time for my family, for reading, watch a lot of films, practicing indoor sports, and of course for music. Instead live performance, I took advantage of that situation to compose a lot of new music. I composed a lot of new demos for my band Lexoticos, and I developed a new theremin project called Thermatic, based on sequencing the theremin with software, some devices and plugins. And by the way, tomorrow Friday is the release of the first single of that project, that new project, Thermatic. It's called Madrillian Droid, and you could listen it on Spotify, YouTube, etc., etc. Okay, next question. Have you heard the new Theremin album by Clara Rockmore, Music and Memories? What do you think about it? Yes, some days ago I did it, I listened it. What can I say? Well, a double record from Clara Rockmore is like a gift for every Theremin player. The playing is, as always, is marvelous, and I think for Mrs. Rockmore is superb. It surprised me the repertoire. Some tunes that I never heard before in her hands. But the real value of that record, I think, is the interviews included in the album. Because it's great to listen her talking about the instrument, and even listen the Leon Theremin in some of that interviews. It's an incredible document. I have to listen it much more, but what can I say? It's like a treasure for us. Okay, next question. What do you think about the role of Clara Rockmore in the theremin history and nowadays? Well, as I used to say when somebody asked me about her, I think Clara Rockmore is the main reason why most ceremonists decide to go forward and practice, study, and improve. She's like the horizon, the guide. If you need to refocus, just hear again The Art of the Theremin, or now Music and Memories, and you get instant inspiration. The mystery of how to convert the ether in music seems so easy in her hands. So she's the canon, the standard in expression and articulation in theremin melody. I think what Clara Rockmore did for theremin is the same what Fela Kuti did for Afrobeat, or Charlie Parker for bebop. Is there any mystical or strange history related to your personal theremin experience or performance? Well, not really mystical. Why I had some strange issues due to electricity problems during my performances. For example, I use a lot of pedals, as you know, in my live shows. Usually they work perfectly. I have very good power supply for it, but I have to deal with strange noises, some strange harmonic responses in some venues. It depends the acoustic quality of the venue. But the strangest issue I suffered was during a concert in El Salvador. It was part of a 2 weeks tour around South America 2 years ago. As you know, they have different voltage, 120, and in Europe we used to have 220. Although the venue have a voltage adaptator, the theremin start to work badly and unstable, and the note, everything I note, it changed constantly, randomly, and abruptly. It was really crazy, really hard to play, almost impossible. Until during the show, I discovered that it happened every time the sound technician touched the mixer. So I guess it was before that touching of his hair affect the inductance or capacitance of the theremin. So I have to ask him not to touch the faders during my show. So well, I could finish the show perfectly, but it was a really strange situation. Next question: how much do people in Spain know about the theremin? Are people surprised when they see theremin? Well, it changed constantly. During the last years, the theremin became much more famous than earliest ages. We are working on it, all of we. Of course, there is still a majority of people who know nothing about the theremin, but they recognize the sound when they hear it. It depends the kind of audience. Sometimes I play for audience that knows perfectly what is a theremin, what a theremin is, but sometimes I play for events with people attended it accidentally, so in that performance I always discover the surprise in their faces. So after that kind of shows, I always have to ask questions like, did you have that music recorded, or you just are making playback over that recorded music, or like a karaoke? Other usual question is, you have any invisible strings? Why I can't see that string? That the kind of question I have to attend. Next question: could you please tell us about your theremin collection? What's your favorite theremin model? Well, during the years, I bought some theremins. Nowadays, I have 8 theremins, 4 MOOCs, 2 Etherwave Plus, 1 Etherwave Standard, and an Etherwave Pro. You can see here. A Paya, a Subscope Voicematic, this is what you can see, and a Gaudí Open Theremin V3, and a J-Car, which is just like a toy. Maybe my two favorite are the Etherwave Pro and the Subscope. That's the reason why I put around me. As everybody know, the Etherwave Pro had an amazing sound, perfect linearity, a variety of sounds, and a wide range of octaves. Moog is always great, absolute reliable instruments, solid manufacturer, works in almost every circumstances. But I love my Subscope. 4 years ago, I ordered it to Dominique Bernards, and I received a Subscope theremin, the Voicematic 120 model, released as a homage to Leon Theremin 120 Verde, and it was like a love at first sight. I discovered very nice tone, great features, especially a function called Velocity, which lets you play with lot of attack. It's great for staccato to play real fast. Coming back with the Pro, unfortunately, my Etherwave Pro, that one, suffered a terrible accident at the end of a live show. and was totally crash. I was playing with a popular rock and roll band in Spain called Atom Rumba. At the end of the show, the singer slid on the stage and grabbed accidentally the theremin for the antenna, and the theremin fell from the stage to the gap between the audience and the stage. So the circuits and the knobs was totally destroyed, totally mashed. It was really hard for me, and it took a lot of months to find spare parts to repair it. So after that issue, I decided to keep my either way Pro at home. Now for my shows, I use my Lefty Moog Eitherway Plus with the SP1, the amazing bass module designed by Tori Frankel. For me, I have to say it's much more difficult to play that model, the Eitherway Plus, compared with the Subscope, but it's more stable and have a very good bass range and response, and that's good for my bass lines and bass drums I used to do with the theremin in my shows and in my records. Well, next question. Dear Javier, what inspires you the most about the theremin? What irritates you the most about the theremin? Well, I like and inspired me the chance to drift around the sound, to explore the whole range and the amazing response of the theremin sound when you apply some effects on it, especially the space echoes or very long delays. And the sound of the vibrato. The vibrato is something amazing for me in the theremin, and the powerful glissando you can do with the theremin. That inspired me a lot. What irritates me? Of course, the extreme difficult that means to play this instrument, especially the fact that the good tune usually depends absolutely of your focus, focus capacity and concentration. And as you know, it changes, depends the day, it changes from one day to another. So theremin is, I think, is like humor. You have the good days, bad days. You have to deal with it. Sometimes it irritates me a lot. Next question. Do you see the difference between theremin and synthesizer? Of course, absolutely. The theremin, of course, is much more difficult to play, to tune. Maybe it's not the best side instrument in a band, but the theremin have much more expressivity and eloquence than a synthesizer. I think it's much more human, especially because it vocal quality, like singing. Do you see any problems in the modern theremin? Well, it was the problem that you can buy a professional theremin once Moog stops the production of the Eitherway Pro. Until now, with the Clarabox, we will see. About the theremin as a worldwide musical scene, well, I have no problem because I think we are living an incredible moment for the instrument, with thousands and thousands of people playing it, some dozens of virtuosos like we never see or heard before. Not me. Maybe I contribute with other things, other visions, a point of view, but I know I'm not a virtuoso. Have you already bought a theremin of your dreams? Not yet, not yet. Maybe the Eitherway Pro is close to it, but it's have some problems. It's very big, very heavy, and you have to change the register with the knob. With this, you have 3 register, so you have to stop to play to do it. For me, that's a problem. The main problem is that I didn't find a left-hand version when I bought that instrument 14 years ago. So it's hard to handle the controls because it's on the other side. I play on that side, so I have to take a look on the other side to change the knobs and the controls, and it's hard during the live performances. But it's an awesome instrument. Not perfect, but maybe the best one until now. Let's see how is the Clara box. I'm looking forward to have it in my hands. Do you think that everyone can learn to play the theremin? Not really. Everybody can enjoy playing theremin, of course, like singing. But if you want to play a melody in the air, you need a good ear. Not an absolute ear, that's for virtuosos, but you need a relative ear and good melodic memory. I'm not a theremin teacher, but sometimes I have to give lessons to people who ask me for it. Just initiation classes to help those people to start playing theremin. Well, in that classes I found people who could reach a good level, but also I have students who didn't even recognize a note playing in an octave up below. So they can't sing an octave or an scale or an arpeggio. So for playing theremin, I recommend to play another instrument before, or at least have familiarity with music. You need the music in your mind, in your ear. You want to find it in the air. That's my point. Dear Javier, where did you hear and see the theremin for the first time? What were your first impressions, and what is about this instrument that has captured your interest? Well, as a teenage fan, I was a fan of sci-fi and horror movies. I remember that sound bewitched me, but it took me some years to discover what instrument produced that unique tone. It was during the 90s decade that some facts converged and increased my interest for the theremin. For example, the soundtracks of Ed Wood and Mars Attacks from Tim Burton with the theremin of Lydia Cabina. That revival of space age pop and some other mavericks from the past, for example, composers like Juan García Esquivel, Les Baxter, Martin Denny, Raymond Scott. That interest for first analog synths, and somehow someday appears in front of me the name of Leon Theremin too. Of course, it was truly important, that documentary, the Theremin and Electronic Odyssey, where I discovered the figures of Leon Theremin and Clara Rockmore. I remember also the book Incredible Strange Music, which includes some pages about the theremin, as well as some alternative rock outfit bands started to use theremin on a scene, like for instance Mano Rastroman, John Spencer Blues Explosion. Most of them produced simple noises, but at the same time it was really a surprise. It surprised me. All those things finally forced me to find a theremin years after. Next question. What was your biggest challenge when you just started learning how to play the theremin, and what helped you to overcome this challenge? What are some of the key skills and techniques you have learned or developed that are particularly helpful to you? Well, my first theremin was a J card. It was like a toy, just fun. But once I received my first move in 2004, I have to face how to sound it properly, because I didn't know anything about how to adapt the size of the electromagnetic field with the pitch knob, or anything about the body position to play. I didn't know anything. There was no YouTube or social network at that time. Finally, I found a forum, Theremin Hispano, a theremin forum in Spanish. I met other thereminists, and that helped me a lot. It was really, really important the day Pamelia Kirsten, and nowadays Pamelia Stickney, visited Madrid in 2005. She gave me some lessons. She teach me how to play, some technique, and when she discovered I play by bass, just like her, she recommended me to flip the theremin. So that's the reason why I turned into a lefty thereminist. And it's because Pamela. It changed completely my way of playing and helped me a lot. At that point is when I start to practice, but the real first challenge was to change the state of mind, to achieve that state of mind that allows you to relax, to play with your relaxed hands and your consciousness, and let it go. Yes, go for to search notes in the air. It was really hard at the beginning because I used to play double bass and electric bass. The double bass is a really difficult instrument, but I always have the fingerboard like a life jacket, like a guide. But with the theremin, everything is different, totally different. You have to understand that your body is the real instrument. So you have to let it go in a space, going for the notes. You have to maintain the connection among hands, ear, and mind. You have to focus on it and keep relax it at the same time. For me, that's the secret to play the theremin. About my particular technique, I developed my own vibrato technique. Because the classic vibrato is with the entire arm like this, or like this. But someday I start to make the vibrato just with my fingers like this, because I thought, why I have to move all the arm if I can make it just with the fingers. So that's my very particular technique to play the vibrato. It helps me a lot. Next question. Could you please tell us about your albums, Ceremonial Dark and Exotic Theremin Music and Ceremonial 2, More Dark, Exotic and Danceable Theremin Music? What inspired you to create those albums? Well, I have the albums here. That's the first one. It was sold out, totally sold out. And the second one, well, I think before I start to think about albums or anything like this, I thought that today we have very advanced theremin models with a pretty wide range, and I thought, well, why don't you use it to play bass lines or percussive sounds or whatever you can imagine? Why don't you use all those incredible possibilities of technology bring us nowadays, like affordable software, and that's such incredible collection of pedal effects that you couldn't even imagine some years ago. For me, there's nothing to contribute by my side to play another version of the swan or vocalize or playing in a classical way, because many people have played before and much better than me. So I prefer to compose my own music, to construct my own world of sounds using my pedals and loopers. I know it's a very risky adventure, especially playing live, because every layer of theremin you add multiply the risk and the difficulty, and of course the tuning. Maybe it's not so refined as other projects, but I discovered in my tours that a lot of people enjoy and appreciate my effort. My real inspiration is my love for all kind of music. As music fan and record collector, I was overexposed during decades to tons and tons of music, many different styles, ages. That's the point that defines me as musician. My approach to music as composer and performer is absolutely miscellaneous. Usually I try to erase the boundaries between music styles, but always trying my own recipe. I don't like to follow a predetermined fusion. or mix. Of course, not always I get satisfactory results, but it's the research, the search, the path of experimentation what reward me. Uh, I think the theremin is a powerful instrument in that descontextualize action, because any musical genre play with that instrument sounds totally different as it is supposed to be. I like to fuse opposite flavors in my music. For instance, I love industrial music and exotica, but the final result sounds far from both extremes. I think it moves a part of everything indeed, just because I think the theremin is one of a kind instrument that creates his own particular genre. That was what I try to make with the two ceremonials. Next question. What are some similarities and difference between the two albums? Well, the main difference is the conception. When I record the tracks for the first ceremonial, I didn't know it finally will be an album. I did it just to prove myself that I can develop songs with the theremin play in every different role. When I record the second ceremonial, I did it with an album in my mind, and with all the experience of the ceremonial tour. Another difference is that I think I improved my playing in the second ceremonial. The first one was recorded in 2014, and it was released 3 years later in 2017. The second ceremonial was recorded in 2018. In the meantime, between the two albums, I played dozens and dozens of live shows worldwide, so I hope it can be noted in the sound of the second ceremonial. Another difference is about the mood and the music styles. I think the first ceremonial is darker and more exotic at the same time. It has almost industrial songs and other songs highly influenced by exotic music. On the other side, I think the second ceremonial is more electronic, more danceable, like the title suggests. Well, another question. Who is your favorite Russian composer? Well, in classical fields, I totally love Modest Mussorgsky, especially Night on the Valve Mountain and Pictures of an Exhibition. I love it. Also Stravinsky and Shostakovich. When I was young, I felt a huge impact listening the masterworks of that great composers and genius. That's about classical music. In electronic field, I love Eduard Artemiev, all what he did for electronic music, and especially the awesome soundtracks he did for Tarkovsky films like Solaris, etc. In modern music, I like people like Oleg Kostro, the amazing horror sharp sound of Messer Chops, and even the very important psychobilly band in a psychobilly scene called the Mean Traitors. Well, what was the most funny case in your life related with theremin? Well, the real funny case with the theremin is that my theremin music is maybe the strangest music I ever played, and always surprise me that I have better response and feedback from audience and the media compared with other easier music I played before. I mean, I played bass and double bass during decades, and I still do it. And I have so many bands. I travel around Spain and worldwide, playing jazz, swing, rock, surf, pop, everything. But I even travel more and more with the theremin. It's funny for me. That's funny because I know I don't play the theremin in a traditional way. But the thing is, their some people out there that enjoy my point to play theremin. So I'm happy about it. Well, I think this is the last question. Imagine please that you can talk with Lev Theremin. What would you ask him? Oh, a lot of things. I consider him truly a main genius of the 20th century. He invented so many unique things apart the theremin, the terpsitone, the theremin cello, rhythmicone, and all those prototypes that allow today we have alarms and automatic opening doors, etc., etc. But I would like to know about the discovery of the theremin, the invention, the moment when he realized that he invented a real instrument and decided to start to work on it. We all are really lucky that Leon Theremin was a great scientist, but also have a side as musician, as cellist. That's because that side we have today that unique instrument that we love to play and we love to chat and talk about, like is my case today. So that's all, folks. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks everybody for all the good questions. Thanks a lot, Peter Theremin, for inviting me to make this streaming. Keep safe and best wishes, and hope to see you soon. Okay? Ciao.